Well, hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Celeste Harrison, and I'm so happy to have you here joining us today. At National Geographic, we believe in the power of exploration, wonder, and storytelling to change our world for the better. This Explorer Classroom YouTube show connects classrooms from all over the world with our National Geographic explorers for short lessons and plenty of time for all of your student questions. Today, our explorer is Roxanne Beltran. Roxanne is a marine biologist who tracks and monitors elephant seals. She hopes her research will help us better understand the strategies that seals use to survive and thrive out there in the open ocean, and specifically to better understand how their behavior and their survival might be impacted by our changing planet. She's particularly interested in elephant seal pups, which begin their first migration at only 3 months old without any instruction from their parents. They are very cute and very impressive little creatures. I can hardly wait to learn more about them. But before we get to that lesson, let's take a second to welcome all the friends we have joining us this afternoon from across the US and all around the world. Our shout outs are going to go to Al Sadiq Islamic English School, Bluria Middle School, Canyon Falls Middle School, Casa Rodriguez, Cascadia Montessori, Clyde Hill Elementary, Edmund G. Ross Elementary, Evans Elementary, Hawthorne, John Adams Middle School, John E. White Elementary, Lake Elsinore Unified School District, Laura Cavazos Elementary School, the Little Hawk Academy, the Louis Reel School, March Academy, Middleton Elementary, the Nevada City School of the Arts, Pacifica High, St. Basil, Thackerville Elementary, the Barnhouse School, and Waynesville Middle School. And with all that talking from me out of the way, it is now time. Let's get this Explorer Classroom started. I'm going to turn it over to our explorer for the day, Roxanne, to walk us through the wonders of elephant seals and some of the challenges of tracking and studying them. Take it away, Roxanne.
Thank you so much, Celeste. And hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I am so grateful to have you here and to share with you some of the science that I do, some of the exploring that I've done, and some of the seals that I feel very lucky to be able to work with every single day in my job as a marine biologist. So I want to start just by saying that this is how things started for me. I was probably your age and wanting to be either a vet or an engineer or something that had to do with animals and science and technology. And I found my home doing basically exactly the same thing as a marine biologist. Not much has changed. I've upgraded my sunglasses for sure. But I have had the absolute pleasure of studying marine mammals for the last 2 years. So most of the work that I do focuses on seals and sea lions, lots of animals that spend some time on land, but most of their time out exploring the open ocean. And so I use them as partners to help understand their biology and also to help understand the ocean itself. And that's all possible because of some amazing supporters that I have. And I especially want to highlight National Geographic here. Ever since I was young, I wanted to be on the cover of National Geographic, and I haven't gotten there yet, but I'm very excited to say that I'm a young explorer, which basically means that I love discovering and traveling and telling stories about the fun stuff that I have the absolute privilege of being able to do every day. National Geographic funded some of the work that I did in Antarctica at the bottom of the world, which is that picture of the Weddell seal that you're seeing in the middle of the screen there, and also some other work that I'm doing right now on elephant seals. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about that elephant seal work today. And to set the stage, I just want to bring you virtually to California with me. So I'm going to bring you to Año Nuevo Reserve, which is about a 30-minute drive from the University of California, Santa Cruz, where I work. This is a drone video that my partner Patrick took. And you can see if you look really closely in this video that there's a bunch of little worms on the sand. Those are elephant seals. Do you see all those elephant seals clumped together? So elephant seals come onto the beach about twice per year for about a month each, and they spend the rest of the 10 months of the year out in the middle of the North Pacific Ocean, diving down to 1,000 meters underwater and traveling thousands of kilometers offshore in order to find the fish and squid that they eat. But when they come back to land, we can study them. They're right here. We can just go to the beach and observe them. And so if I were to fly a drone over Año Nuevo Island, which is just a kilometer offshore, this is what I would see. So lots of sea lions. You can see all of those little worms again. Those are California sea lions and stellar sea lions up on the terrace of the island. You can see some seagulls flying around. There are some cormorants, which are diving birds. You can see some animals playing in the water. It's just amazing. On a single day on the island, there can be upwards of 20,000 animals on a very, very small island. So going there is almost like Jurassic Park or something. You step onto the island and it just feels like you're not on this planet anymore. But perhaps the most exciting thing that I get to witness with the elephant seals is their breeding behavior. So elephant seals actually get their names from these big floppy noses they have that look a lot like elephant noses. And the male elephant seals fight during the breeding season. This is coming up in about December. They fight for access to females. So you'll see these big males with their giant canine teeth and their super chunky chest shields trying to fight each other for access to those females. And what happens is they establish their dominance. They get a group of females that are sort of theirs, and they fight to maintain that group for the season. And then the females give birth to pups. The pups are pretty small relative to these giant elephant seals, but still pretty big at about 50 pounds. But they get a lot bigger throughout the nursing period, which lasts about a month. So during that month, pups are drinking milk like this from their moms. And that milk is more than 50% fat. So if you guys had a bowl of cereal for breakfast this morning, you probably put some milk in it. Maybe it was whole milk. That's 4% fat. You might have had 2% milk. That's 2% fat. So imagine 50% fat milk. It's almost more like a gel or a solid than it is a liquid. It's pretty impressive. So imagine you're an elephant seal pup. So you're born into this crazy harem where these males are fighting and you're drinking milk from your mom. You're tripling in size in the span of a month. And then your mom departs the beach and leaves you to fend for yourself. So you sit on the beach for 2 months and you might go in the water like this. You might interact with your friends. And just after that, you go off on your first trip to sea. You're all by yourself, just trying to survive that first migration. So that's what I'm interested in studying. I'm interested in figuring out what it is that these seals are doing after they nurse their mom's milk, after they wean, and before their first migration, and then all through their first migration. And that's what I'm going to tell you about today. I'm going to tell you about 3 questions that I like to ask about these seals and that I've found answers to over the last couple of years. So the first is, what are seals doing during the 2 months after nursing and before leaving for their first trip to sea? The second is, how long do seals hold their breath and what is their heart rate? And I'll tell you more details about that in a second. And the third is, where do seals go during their first migration? Now, to understand the importance of these questions, I need to give you one more piece of information, which is that seals are not like us. They don't just get to go to the grocery store and pick stuff off the shelves and take it to go. It's way too easy for us. For the seals, they actually have to go out. They have to navigate to very productive areas in the ocean. Then they have to find food and they have to eat it. And the food is not at the surface of the ocean. These are not floating pieces of food. These are fish and squid that live hundreds of feet or even 1,000 feet under the surface of the ocean. And so these seals have to basically hold their breath. So imagine being at the surface of the ocean, taking a deep breath, holding it, and then swimming down to find fish underwater, capturing it in your mouth, chewing it, swallowing it, and doing that all over again. And then finally coming up to the surface for a breath of air. These are mammals, which means they both give live birth and they can't breathe water. And so they have to breathe air. That means they have to come up to the surface of the water in order to breathe, but their food is down deep underwater. And so that means that they've evolved this incredible ability to hold their breath so that they can actually get down to the food that they need to eat. So let's move on to this first question, which is, what are seals doing during the 2 months after nursing and before leaving for their first trip to sea? So to solve this mystery, we partnered with National Geographic and put some critter cams out on elephant seals. This is a video from the back of one of the seals. And as you watch this video for the next minute, I challenge you to find the second seal in the frame that also has a critter cam on its back. This particular day, we actually glued this camera to the back of the seal and to a second seal. Out of 200 seals on the beach, these 2 instrumented seals managed to find each other. So what we did with this footage is we worked with a team of undergraduate students here at the University of California, Santa Cruz, And the students scored the activities of the seals into 3 categories. So resting behavior, moving like you're seeing right now, and then swimming. And we wanted to know which activities were done more frequently. You can see that camera on the back of that seal right there. Can you guys see that? Give me a thumbs up if you can see it. Yeah, nice. Good eyes. So what we found is that seals actually spend most of their time resting, which was really surprising because when you think of elephant seals, you might think of those males fighting or the moms nursing pups or giving birth or swimming out in the middle of the ocean, but they actually need to rest quite a bit. And so we found that these seals were spending quite a bit of time on the beach, just resting. And we had a hunch, a hypothesis that we knew why they might be resting so much. And the trick is in physiology. So let me give you an example. If you have your gym class and you go outside and you run around the track, what happens to your heart rate? Does it increase or does it decrease? Give me a thumbs up if it increases. Give me a thumbs down if it decreases. Yeah, you guys are on it. So when we exercise and when animals exercise, their heart rates increase. And the purpose of that is for us to get oxygen to our muscles. Our muscles are what are working, what are, helping us move forward. Our muscles need oxygen in order to do that. And how do they get oxygen? Well, oxygen goes from our mouths into our lungs, into our blood, and then gets delivered to our muscles. And so when our heart pumps fast like that, it's actually pushing oxygenated blood into our muscles so that we can do the exercise that we need to do. Does that make sense? So now imagine a seal diving underwater. They don't have access to oxygen, right? That means that whatever oxygen is in their blood, that's the only oxygen they have to support their muscles and their brains and all sorts of important stuff. And so by lowering their heart rate during diving, they actually conserve that oxygen. This is called the dive response. It's a very, very important thing. It basically says that when we hold our breath, and it would happen to you, it happens to seals, our heart rates actually are lowered a little bit. And that helps us basically conserve the oxygen that we have in our bodies so that our muscles can do their jobs. So we wanted to study the actual heart rates of these seals when they were on the beach. And this is what a heartbeat looks like. So I'm gonna do an experiment with you. So take your 2 fingers, if you can, and go ahead and find your pulse. So right under your chin, usually on the right side, you can feel this vein, and you should be able to feel your heartbeat. Do you hear that? Like ba-bum, ba-bum, ba-bum. So that's your heart rate, right? What we're gonna do is we're gonna count our heart rate and then convert it to beats per minute. So when I say go, count the number of heartbeats that you feel. Ready, go. Okay, stop. So whatever that number was, multiply it by 4. And that's your heart rate in beats per minute. So mine was about 20 beats in that 15-second period. That means that my heart rate is about 80 beats per minute right now. That's probably a little faster than yours because I'm talking really fast and I'm nervous to be talking in front of so many people. So yours may have been around like 50 or 60 beats per minute. What you're actually feeling when you feel your heart rate is you feel your heart pulsing blood into your body. And this graph on the screen, that's what that looks like. That's what we call a QRS complex. So that big peak in that heart rate signal, that's what we wanted to look at for the seals. And I'll show you what the seals' heart rates looked like. So on the left in the red, we have heart rate pattern of a breathing seal. So a breathing seal is about 87 beats per minute. So just a little bit faster than mine. But when the seals held their breath, their heart rate dropped to about 50 beats per minute. And you can see that. Do you see how the peaks are all farther apart? That means that the heart rate is lower. And that's exactly what the dive response is. So if we look at this over, a 2 or 3 hour period, we see these periods of heart rate increase when the seals are breathing, heart rate decrease when they're holding their breath. And this is all really important because it helps us understand how these small pups are able to hold their breath for so long. We can actually watch them get more fit and be able to hold their breath and find food better throughout their first foraging trip. And we can compare that to what we know about adults. So adults can actually lower their heartbeat, adult elephant seals, to 3 beats per minute. That's 20 seconds between heartbeats. Can you imagine that? And so these seal pups aren't quite that good at lowering their heart rate yet, but they're trying. And you can actually watch them develop these abilities by looking at data from BioLoggers. So as part of our National Geographic grant, we got to put these BioLoggers on seals. So you can see that seal has a big package on its back. It's a BioLogger that measures depth. And I'll show you what that actually looks like. So on the left axis, on the y-axis here, you see depth. So 0 is the surface of the ocean down to 1,000 meters, which is 3,000 feet, which is about the height of a 300-story building. So imagine a 300-story building in the ocean and imagine a seal diving down that deep. It's pretty crazy, right? So this is the depth of the seal each day for the first 365 days for the first year after weaning. And you can see the dive depth getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And what that helps the seals do is get better and better at finding food. It maximizes their chance of survival, which is pretty cool to be able to see directly. We can also see where they go. So we can see where the 1-year-old daughters go versus their moms. And for example, the 1-year-old daughters stayed really close to the coast, whereas the adult moms went a lot further offshore. This is actually real-time tracking data. So I took this morning of the seals that are out at sea right now, who should be coming back in the next 2 months or something like that. So this is really important because we know that there's a lot of predators closer to the coast. And so it may be that one of the reasons we see pretty low survival rates in the juveniles is that they're actually going to locations where there's more sharks and more killer whales in order to try to find more food because they're not yet quite good at holding their breath. So I want to zoom out with the last science slide to show you guys what global migrations look like. Migrations are so cool and they're so common in the animal kingdom. Elephant seals are just one example. You can see that on the very left-hand side, but there's birds that migrate, there's insects that migrate, there's all sorts of stuff that migrates. And it's a really important thing to know about animals. And I think by using these advanced biologging tools, by studying the animals, we can begin to understand why these migrations happen. And so elephant seals just so happen to be a very good model system for that. But there are many, many, many more animals that need to be studied. And so if you're interested in a science career and you want to do that sort of thing, I'd say go for it. There's a lot of work to be done in that particular field. And the last thing I want to say is just that I feel so lucky that I get to do this for a job. I mean, it's just crazy. Sometimes I look around and I'm like, am I getting paid for this? For the rest of my life, I get to do this. This is amazing. Every morning that I wake up feels like an absolute dream. And so I want to try to give you guys a couple pieces of advice in case you want to be a scientist or an engineer or a marine biologist or anything at all related to what I do. The first is to work and study hard. There's just, no substitute for putting in the time and the work and learning, the math, the geography, the history. I still use that stuff all the time for my science. Just because I'm a scientist doesn't mean I don't need to know the rest of that stuff. So work hard, put in the time, and know that everyone around you has their own skills. So if you look to your right in your classroom, look to your left, each of those people has a skill that you don't yet have, and they can share that with you. And that's really cool. So you'll be better if you learn from the people around you and your teacher too, and that's pretty fun. The third is find the thing that gets you most excited. Seals and science are the things that make me most excited in the world. And so to be able to do that for a job feels pretty amazing to me. The fourth is that teamwork makes life and science so much more fun. So these pictures were taken before COVID. So for those of you wearing masks and getting vaccinated if you can and social distancing, we super appreciate it. Thanks for helping us get back into the field as soon as we can. But I get to work with some of my best friends every day working on these seals, and that feels pretty amazing to me. And the last thing is to dream big. There are so many things left to find out in science, and the tools that you guys will have the chance to use when you're my age, I can't even begin to imagine what those are right now. Right now we're using thermal imaging drones to be able to find seals on islands and figure out where they are. And you can see in this picture right here, this is Aninovo Island, and all of the hot spots in the picture of that right are giant, giant groups of animals. And so we feel really lucky to be able to use those technologies and figure out exactly where those animals are and what they're doing. And you guys will be able to find out so much more in the coming years. So with that, I will say thank you so much for your time, and I am very happy to take any questions.
Brilliant. All right. And Roxanne, how can all the young explorers out there watching this afternoon help protect their marine wildlife?
Yeah, it's my favorite question. We all have a role to play. I play roles as just being a scientist and trying to do what I can every day to protect our ecosystem, but I also do lots of things like beach cleanups and making sure I recycle and limit my plastic use. And I think you guys can do much of the same things, in preparing yourself for an adulthood where you make informed choices and protect the environment in every way you can, whether it's by making choices at the grocery store or by voting, politically. These are all really important things. And so in your age right now, I would say go get outside, get excited about what you want to get excited about and share it with the people around you, because we're most likely to protect what we love if we love it and know about it. So go share your passion, dream big, and it'll be fun to see what you guys get up to in the next few years.
I love it. Ordinarily, we would end there, but Miss Spencer's class snuck in a really great question under the buzzer. So, Roxanne, do you think that when the offspring returns the following year, its family would recognize it?
That is a very hotly debated topic in our field. And I will just say that we don't know for sure, but there is some evidence in sea lions and fur seals specifically, not necessarily seals, but the fur seals and sea lions, that the moms can recognize their pups for a very long time. And it appears to be some combination of sounds and smells. And so the mom can go off to sea for about 7 or 8 days for a shorter trip and recognize her pup when she gets back. But whether, for example, the elephant seals know who's more closely related to them, we have no idea. We've now, through Dan Costa's research program, tracked, I think we're on the 7th generation of known individuals. So we know the exact great grandma, mom, and daughter, and then granddaughter and great granddaughter for a couple of seals. But there's no evidence that they are closer together on the beach or anything like that. So chances are they don't know, but you never know with these elephant seals.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad we got that last question. Thank you so much, Roxanne. This work is amazing. Thank you for doing such cool stuff and for taking the time to hang out with us and share it in such a cool and engaging way. Thank you to teachers who make cool stuff like this happen while also doing literally a million other things. You guys are the best. Thank you to students. Your questions are always so really, really cool. So really cool. Like, you guys are the best. Thank you for your very thoughtful and insightful questions. You guys can check out Explorer Classroom plus many, many more free and amazing educational resources at natgeoed.org. I hope to see you at some of our upcoming Explorer Classroom events. If this time works well for you, great. We'll see you right back here next week. If not, we do also offer Thursday events for middle schoolers at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, and we have programs for younger students on Monday mornings at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Coming up on our schedule, we've got investigating plastic pollution, bat biosonar, honeybees, and polar conservation, all kinds of good stuff coming down the line. Register your class for a shout out during the event and a chance to be up here on screen with an explorer. Happy Hispanic Latinx Heritage Month to everyone out there. Check out the educator guide for this event. We will update that with that link that Roxanne was talking about. I know a lot of you in the chat bar are asking for it, so that's where you can find it later. Have a great day. Stay curious. Keep exploring. Bye.